Well, good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the True Colors presentation. My name is Brooke Moore. I'm from the Faculty Center for Teaching and Learning, and we are thrilled to have Judy Elsey here. We invited Judy Elsey to do this presentation because we attended the Great Teachers Seminar together this past summer and learned about True Colors and what it was all about, and thought it would be helpful to some of our faculty here at Ferris. And so she is going to enlighten us today about our True Colors. If you would please welcome Judy Elsey.
It's really a joy to be here, and I'm thrilled to be on my college campus, our university campus, since I don't get here very often. But to introduce myself, I work as manager of career services across the state, and a part of what I do is the career services side of things, as well as the career development side of things for primarily adult learners. And in this work that I do, I run across so many different scenarios of individuals, many times coming in to see me, have lost their job one place or another, or in transition, and they've been given educational dollars to come back to school. In many cases, some cases, they're choosing to go back on their own dollars. And coming back to school, they don't know where they're headed. They feel like they have no direction, but they know they need a college degree. And meeting with me, I start with helping them better understand themselves. And in doing that, I use True Colors. What I would like to start is to introduce myself not only as an employee of Ferris, but also to let you know that I'm credentialed in this area, so I've done a lot of development in terms of career development and career counseling over the years. And I have a master's degree from Western Michigan University, and it's in human resource development. But along with that, I am certified as a career facilitator, career development facilitator, but also I'm certified in True Colors. So True Colors has offered me many trainings over the past 5 to 7 years, and I feel like it has been a unique tool just for my own development. 8 to 10 years ago, when I first went for the certification in Warren, Michigan, I was enlightened as I went through a 3 to 5 day workshop and learned about myself. And I felt like it was such a huge factor for me that it was something that I wanted to utilize in my future. So it's at that point I continued on to not only use True Colors in a lot of different scenarios, but I use it very much at Ferris with adult learners in terms of helping them define a sense of direction. I also use it with the traditional learner or student, but many times it's the traditional student that comes in to see me, and the parent comes with them, and I work with them in terms of helping them define a sense of direction. But a part of my Ferris utilizing True Colors has taken me to working with teachers. And just last week, the spring break week, I was at Grand Valley and did a presentation regarding using True Colors in the classroom. And I have done this presentation probably 5 or 6 times there. And student teachers have found it very beneficial. And so I wanted to share with you, with a few modifications, how True Colors can be used in the classroom as a teacher, an instructor, or even a staff member here at Ferris. I feel like it will be really insightful for you as an instructor to better understand yourself. But additionally, I think it's going to help you, give you a whole new understanding of the personality in the classroom. And some of the unexpected, some of the expected things, some of the unique qualities of each personality type, and some of the weaknesses or things that could create a challenge for you as an instructor. Today is part 1. In 2 weeks, on March the 29th, same place, we will be here again for part 2. And in part 2, we're going to get into a little more in-depth about the classroom. Today, I want to give you more of an introduction to what True Colors is, the tool and how it can be utilized, but I also want to give you information about you. So you can first understand yourself through this process, and then you can start to see it over a couple of weeks. You'll start noticing different people in different quadrants of the personalities, and you'll be able to start applying it. And then when you come back in 2 weeks, you'll see how I can give you some tips for the classroom, how you can utilize it as a teacher. But today, I put the agenda here on the board. I want to get into knowing you and everyone in the room to know who you are. But also, we're going to talk about some of the personality, the brain research that has taken place with this tool prior to the tool being created, and the basis of it, and then how it's related to classroom teaching. And then we're going to start today by understanding the two different sides of the brain, the right and left, some of the qualities, and then move into the 4 colors and give descriptions. Once you've learned the 4 colors, you should be able to identify somewhat where you fall. And you'll see in one of the handouts I've given you, there's a website that you can go to. It's on 2 different pages here. And you can find out your score. So I hope that when you return for part 2, you will know your personality colors and bring those with you in the next session. In most cases, when I do a presentation like this, people have already taken the test and they really know what their scores are. And that's very, very helpful. But today we're going to make some assumptions. And you being adults and working with students and teaching and engaged in helping others learn, I think you're going to be quick to figure out what your colors are in terms of the descriptions. So I welcome you today. Glad you're here, and I feel this is a great opportunity to learn more in terms of personality and defining ourselves. We talk about today in education across the nation, but also now that we're a global economy, we talk about diversity. I feel really strong as a career counselor and a person that's worked a lot with psychology that along with the diversity, when we talk about people of different gender, people of different religious beliefs, people of color, different ethnic backgrounds, I feel like a part of that diversity component is personality type. And I think one of the main things we need to understand is we all have differences because of how our brain is naturally defined and designed. But in addition to that, we have such strengths. And the world is very, very colorful in terms of personalities. True Colors is very much evolved really in years and years ago, in 400 BC, when Hippocrates talked about the 4 types of human beings. And then, of course, we leap in this slide, we're showing all the way into 1921. But a lot of research went on through the early years of evolution and our evolving as human beings in terms of people studying how the brain was defined. And they noticed there was significant uniqueness. In 1921, Carl Jung, he defined that there were 4 different personality types, 4 different types of human beings. This is kind of how he stated it. But it was in the 1950s that Myers-Briggs, where 2 ladies did major research and looked intensively and extensively at how the brain was designed. They designed how the brain was designed, but also the different qualities that they would see in different individuals. And they were able to align it with left and right side of the brain, and then ultimately to different quadrants. So the Myers-Briggs at the time in 1950s wasn't looked on very favorably. People looked at it as something not all that insightful. People were that these 2 ladies really didn't know too much about what they were doing. But as time started to unfold, historically, looking back, we have found that these 2 ladies did a wonderful job in their research. It was phenomenal what they were able to discover. And from there, different research began to unfold and to present itself to us in terms of tools that we can use in helping people better understand themselves and the strength of their personality. And it was in 1967, David Kersey wrote a couple different versions of the book, Please Understand Me. And in this book, he gives a lot of information about the temperament, the personality design, the characters of the design, people's values, and how they all align in terms of personality types. And in 1978, Don Lowry actually created the tool for true color inside of the brain, and then ultimately to different quadrants. So the Myers-Briggs at the time in 1950s wasn't looked on very favorably. People looked at it as something not all that insightful. People were that these two ladies really didn't know too much about what they were doing. But as time started to unfold, historically, looking back, we have found that these two ladies did a wonderful job in their research. It was phenomenal in what they were able to discover. And from there, different research began to unfold and to present itself to us in terms of tools that we can use in helping people better understand themselves and the strength of their personality. And it was in 1967, David Kersey wrote a couple different versions of the book, Please Understand Me. And in this book, he gives a lot of information about the temperament, the personality design, the characters of the design, people's values, and how they all align in terms of personality types. And in 1978, Don Lowry actually created the tool for True Colors. And in the True Colors, he took the Myers-Briggs foundation of information and utilized it, didn't change it, but utilized it in creating a very colorful look at the brain and helping people to identify in a very colorful way that their personality type is bright and beautiful. And we look at the colors as the bright colors and the less bright colors of your personality type. In 1978, Don Lowry created a tool that was really a way for a person to answer questions, and it would help define their natural design, and then it brings perspective not only to a person's individual design, but also to the other colors in the world, and how they are unique and can add value. And it is also helpful information that you learn in team building. I also teach at Grand Rapids Community College, and I use this tool at the beginning of every semester. And I take the students at the beginning and put them in, after they have taken the test, and I put them in same color groups, and they do a presentation. After they define some things as a group, but the second week or third week of my class, I put them in diverse color groups. And I tell the students that it's not likely that you'll ever work with people who are just like you and have your same personality type. It's more likely, and it's actually a brighter world, if you have all four colors in the world. And people of different personality types are blending and bringing new ideas from their perspective and their natural talents that really enhance the environment that you're working in. It can be in the classroom, it can be in the workforce. At any rate, I say the colorful teams really make a brighter workplace or a brighter classroom. It does not measure your talent, nor does it measure your attitude or any kind of emotional stability. And I tell students this is not a horoscope or any type of reading like that, palm reading. I said this is based purely on brain research, factual evidence, and it is based on the practice side of the tools, where people have actually utilized them and outcomes have been evaluated. But even a step further, Carolyn Kalo, after True Colors had been created, she took True Colors a second step, and she took the True Colors and she created tools that link personality type to careers. So, the four personality types we're going to talk about today have natural talents. And in those natural talents, a person understands their natural talents and where their natural gifts are, and aptitudes. Then we channel that in terms of a college program or a career. Because it works this way. If a person chooses for the rest of their life to do what they're naturally gifted to do, number one, they'll love what they do. They'll get up in the morning and go to work, and they'll be excited about their job because they'll do it naturally. In most cases, they'll do their job better than anyone else because it's natural. They're naturally embracing their skills, the skills that they've been designed to have. And then fourth, others will notice how well they do their job. They'll probably do it more efficiently, quicker, faster, and scoot through it a little bit above average or even above average on every level. If you're an instructor, you'll notice that in your classroom. If you're a staff member, you'll notice that some people are more naturally talented in some areas and others are less talented. But those that are the most talented really exceed expectations on most levels in that particular area. So Carolyn Kalo, she created these tools. It's called Following the True Colors to the Work That You Love. And I use this tool in career counseling to help people define that. She has a testing tool here that a person answers questions and it assigns a person a color. And in that color, it is really nice to utilize that in channeling a career track. In the classroom, you can use the same information in building teams and managing classroom behaviors, and also in your own teaching technique. It can enhance overall the classroom demeanor and productive classroom. John Holland says that people can function, develop best, and find job satisfaction in work environments that are compatible with their personalities. I think probably no one would deny that. It's clear in the world today. So what I want to talk to you about is what side of your brain is the strongest, and understanding this will be very, very helpful to you. But before we move on, let's take time to get to know you a little better by having you introduce yourself and what position you hold here, and we'll welcome you. Let's start.
I'm Julie Rudolph. I'm an educational and career counselor. Work in the third floor of the Star Building. What else would you like to know?
That's great. And you think you would probably in the development side, you are doing some assessments anyway.
Yes, I work with the Strong, which is based on John Holland's theory, and the Myers-Briggs.
Yes, very good. So welcome. It's perfectly aligned with what you do. Everybody knows you, but
No. My name's Brooke Moore. I work in the Faculty Center for Teaching and Learning, and I also teach communication.
very good. And Brooks?
And I'm Tom Settesall, and I also work in the Faculty Center.
Cindy Anderson, University Recreation, and I also teach.
Very good. Welcome.
I'm Gloria Barnett. I teach in the University College Career Exploration. It's one of my courses. I'm currently teaching that course fully online, and this is wonderful because I am using Myers-Briggs and STAR to certainly like to give the students a more assessment
Awesome.
to degrees.
Very good. Welcome.
I'm Mike Bouvier, currently the interim assistant dean for college of pharmacy and faculty member, and also Chelmer faculty. I'm interim non-faculty as well as the interim assistant dean.
So wearing many hats right now. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and I hope that you'll find this session beneficial. What I want to do is demonstrate a little bit what I use as I work with classrooms and actually use the object lesson, as I would call it, with the high school and often in college setting. But I think I think it's 90 to 95% of people learn best from visualization. So I have here, along with my slides, I created a physical objects and basically scenario that you can see and can help kind of implant in your brain how we're looking at the brain today. So what I want to do is tell you that the brain was early on discovered that there was the right and the left brain. So we look at these 4 chairs that I have covered in all kinds of colors here. We look at this as the brain. So I want you to visualize this as your brain. And it was years ago that we determined there was a left and a right brain. And the left brain are people who are very much geared towards facts and more towards process. where the right brain is geared more towards feelings and people. So a huge difference. And in the research and the discovery, they found that people who were on the left brain were concerned more about the details of how something would operate or be defined. And yet people that's the left brain, people on the right brain were more concerned about reactions, people's emotions, how people were going to feel, and people overall in general. They were very perceptive, cognitive of people's responses and outcomes, where these people were more about the operation. And I use an example sometimes when people come to my class or in a counseling session. I will say, think of it this way. The left brain supervisor notices that Jane's been coming in late for 3 days of this week. And that's not acceptable. You're supposed to be in the office by 7:55, have the office open by 8 o'clock. She's getting in at 8:10. And so the telephones aren't being operated. The front desk is not being taken care of. It's breaking the policies and procedures of the department. So the supervisor calls the staff member in and says, listen, I just have to remind you that part of your job description is you are to be here at 8 o'clock, and I've noticed that you have not been on time. And this is a problem. We need to get this corrected. So I need you to be back I need you to start following the procedure, being in your office on time, and have the front desk open, be answering phones by 8 o'clock. Can we get this back on task? If we can't, I'm going to have to write you up on your file and put it in your file. This is a warning. Facts, rules, process. The right brain manager or supervisor calls the same person in, says, before they call him in, hey, Jane, how are you today? Can I get you a cup of coffee? When you get a minute, would you come to my office? So Jane comes in, she gets a chance, sits down. Supervisor says, well, how are you? I'm not doing too good. Well, I've noticed that you've been late. Is there something going on? Because that doesn't seem very normal for you. And she says, yes. Actually, there is. I'm going through a divorce. My children are crying all through the night. We're going through a custody battle. I'm not able to sleep. My life feels like it's falling apart. And I just haven't been able to get on top of things. I'm kind of a nervous wreck right now. So the manager says, well, you've been late, and that's why I have you here. We need to get this fixed. What do you think we can do to resolve this problem? She starts crying, and the supervisor says, what would work for you? And Jane says, if we could just give me a week here to come in at 8:30 instead of 8 o'clock, that would really work for me. So the manager says, okay, let's work that out. I'll be here at 8 o'clock to prep for you. And we'll be here at 8:30 for the rest of this week and the first of next week. So right brain, perceptive of feelings, notice this person's got something going on, addresses it. Doesn't even mention that they'll put a note in their file, possibly a warning. Those policies and procedures are kind of off the shelf here. Feelings are more important. Huge difference. Is one way better than another? Not necessarily, but one way has better outcomes than another, in most cases. And the outcomes of the right brain and the left brain, you lay the rules on there and out there, and you put accountability in it, and you tell the results and potential outcomes. Strong base on following proper procedures. Don't fall short of that. Less likely the manager's going to have to pick up the pieces and get too involved. Over here, more tolerant towards feelings and understanding towards the situation, but the chances are that the manager is going to have to absorb more of things that are not their own work, and it could be viewed as a weakness at times in a manager. So, on the other hand, this one shows a little more understanding towards a person's lifestyle and what's happening, and this shows very much an enforcement of company rules, company's procedures. So is one way right or wrong? No. Two different perspectives and coming from two different sides of the brain. Now, when we know that left brain are more factual, right brain are more feelings, we also, in further research, found out that with True Colors, that everyone is all four colors. So, everyone has a gold and a green and an orange and a blue. So everyone has the left and right brain, but everyone has a weaker color, the weakest color. And when people take this test, I say, never choose a career in your least bright color. Never. Because you're going to have to work doubly hard to do the job. And you're not going to enjoy your work. You're going to lose a lot of energy in your work. And when I took this seminar years ago, I realized over 15 years I had been working in a career that was my least color. And I worked hard and I learned how to do my job. I did it very well because I'm very conscientious, but I had to work doubly hard to do the work that I was doing. And so I think a lot of people find themselves working harder because it's not natural for them in the work that they're doing. That's where this type of a career testing, I feel like, is, or in personality testing, falls into place in a very unique way in terms of channeling people, not only in a classroom setting, but also in career choice. So, you're all four colors. You don't want to choose a career in your least color, but True Color says this: your personality type is based on your top two scores, plus if you're an introvert or an extrovert. And I've given you a very simple test, and most people can tell me I'm more introverted than I am extroverted. Introverted are people who are better listeners and talk less. Extrovert is a person who really is very talkative, very engaged in relationships, and really don't listen quite as much as an introvert. So you can ask yourself, am I a stronger listener? Or am I a stronger, or do I talk very talkative? And that can help you define if you're an introvert or extrovert. So your top two colors as your score, plus if you're an introvert or extrovert, define who you are. Now, what I want to tell you is, with True Colors, we have the strength of the left brain, the strength of the right brain. Your least score is not where you want to choose a career. And where you may need to, if you're a manager or a teacher, is to rely on someone else to give you that input in your life. So you have all four colors, and what I want to talk to you now about is what those colors mean. All right, so on the left brain, we have the gold and the green. And get my slides going here. And the gold is very unique, as all colors, but the gold personality is a personality that is about accuracy, details, time is huge. It's so funny because in my classroom just recently in high school, with high school group, the student on the front row said, "Mrs. Elsie, that clock's wrong. That minute hand's going backwards." I knew right away that was a gold student, a gold personality. And is it going backwards? He happened to notice that. I didn't notice that. But gold personalities are people that are geared towards rules, following the rules. If you break the rules, you deserve what you get. Now, I'm not harsh. I'm not saying a gold person's harsh, but they're about following the procedures, the processes, the organizational structure. And also, gold personalities are status-oriented. That means if they're at a coordinator position, they may be targeting to be a vice president someday. Because they're not just comfortable with where they are, they have this strong desire to grow to a different level. And they'll do what it takes to conform to the bureaucratic structure of the organization to make sure that happens. But gold personalities are people who are very oriented not only towards time, but order. And while most people don't use, I say to the students, don't use these kind of planners, instead they have it all on their cell phone, they're very much about planning. And they have the detail in place. So they know where and when, what time, when they leave for vacation, where it's going to happen, what time, where the hotel is, all the locations, all the details, everything's in place. And also, when you give them work to do, they're very high on accuracy. They look at the minute details. You may have a manager above you that is goal personality, because these people are strong managerial material. And have a high aptitude for numbers. So these people are pretty good with numbers, and they make great accountants. But on top of that, in terms of in the classroom, these are the students that will say, Mrs. Jones, I don't understand this assignment because you fail, maybe you're a right-brain teacher, and you fail to deliver all the details. They'll notice that. And they could kind of nudge you in a positive versus negative way, because they'll let you know when something isn't clear to them. They're linear thinkers. This is what I want you to know, is they need step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5 spelled out. And trust me, they will follow it to the T. They'll complete it to the highest level they can. And they will make sure it's on time, because time is incredibly important to a goal personality. But what they can't do very well is if you miss step 2, you've given them step 1, but you missed details in step 2 and you moved on to step 3, you may have lost them. They need all the details spelled out initially. So you make good managers because as a goal personality, you're going to give those details because it's important to you. You're going to make sure that your people understand the rules before you enforce them. You're going to make sure that the rules are clear before you enforce them and hold people accountable. And also you're going to make sure people are trained, because this is important to you as a manager. It's going to be important to you in terms of the people that you manage, whether it be in a classroom or in a business setting. But these people have a weakness, and one of the areas that isn't their strength is creativity. So they're time-oriented, they're detail-oriented. Follow the rules, follow procedure. They hold two traditions, and they don't like change. But creativity is very hard for a goal personality. And some of you may say, well, maybe that's why I haven't always understood. All my friends have all the ideas, and I don't seem to have it. Certain professions and certain roles that you fill and people fill in your lives, if we didn't have the goal personalities, things wouldn't run on time. Things wouldn't be quite as accurate. But these people hold the standard high, and they expect you to follow it. A good example is I worked for Boss once. And by the way, this is my least color. I work hard at organization, and I like organization, but that comes in a very different color with me. But the truth of the matter is, I am not as detailed as a lot of people are. And one of the things that the goal personality, or that one of the situations in my life is I had a boss that was very strong goal. She gave me a project. I did it, but I put a flair in it. It was an Excel spreadsheet. I added an extra column, put some extra information, put a fun cover sheet on it when I submitted in a hard copy. Came up with some new ideas, but it took me a while to realize my boss didn't really care about that. All she wanted from me was what she wanted, was that report. So there was no real appreciation for that creativity. So I learned soon to conform to that my boss only needed this and didn't need all of this. And therefore, I saved all this creativity for something else. And goal managers often don't value that level of creativity in their students. And that is an area sometimes that can be a goal weakness, because you really need that creativity and you need to honor it. But on the other hand, the goals have that strength of holding everyone to the standard and making sure things are accurate and on time. Not too long ago, I was meeting a friend for lunch. And I'll tell you the other side of my brain here soon. But I arrived a little bit late. And I found out right away how irritated my friend was. And I explained, oh, you know what? I was taking care of the student. She stopped when I was leaving, and it made me late. I'm really, really sorry. She got over it. But she told me later, I know that you really care about the feelings of people, and that's a priority with you. And we talked about true colors. And I said, but I also know that you're a person that's retired from management at Metro Health Hospital. And you were in HR, and you were holding everybody to the rules. So I have to work with you to always honor time. Because what she saw that is a level of disrespect. I didn't see the disrespect. I thought I was hurting to take care of the needs of both people on both sides. So sometimes goals can hold really strong to the rules and forget the people attached to that. On the other hand, there's such a need for what they bring. These people are great in management, administrative assistance, accounting, as I indicated, and anything that requires a level of order and development. Human resources, making sure people follow the rules, and writing the policies and procedures. These people have the brain for that because it's detailed and it's somewhat cumbersome, but these people are good at understanding those details. So what's amazing thing about this color, and I never cease to be amazed at this color, because one of the things about the gold personality is that in America, research tells us that 45% of America are gold personalities. And I say, we need them to keep America running on time, running accurately, and running in order. Well, right now, we almost feel like that's all happening, but maybe we need more golds out there. The gold personality is 45% of the United States in our last survey with True Colors, and they do keep us in order. Now, on the same side of the brain, the left side, which is about facts, we have the green personality. Facts, they're factual people, but completely different on the left brain than the golds. These green personalities are people that are very, very oriented towards technology. They have a natural, incredibly natural aptitude for technology. And they're very attracted to digits and gadgets. And I bring my little suitcase here. When the BlackBerry came out, it would be a green personality that we couldn't wait to get to the store to get the latest cell phone to check it out, or the Droid. They like new things when it comes to innovation. And when you have them on your team, they're the person that will sit back on the side in background and be quiet. Because green personalities are very much people who, I would say anywhere between 50 and 70% are very comfortable working alone. So you may not always understand a green because they're very comfortable getting home and watching the Discovery Channel or the History Channel. And they need that. They process. They're deep thinkers. But one thing about a green personality, they cannot shut their brain off. They're always thinking. They work to play and play to work. They hardly know how to separate work and play. So a green personality, let's say, is my spouse, and I invite him to go to a social event with me. Oh, I gotta go to one of those other holiday parties again. Why? Because they always ask why. Well, it's when everybody gets together and kind of socializes and have fun. I want you to be there with me. Come on, I want you to go with me. Okay. So green goes to the social event. And we'll stand a little bit alone for a while, and then they'll come down their way, and they'll start talking to people. And when they talk, it now turns into work. So green personalities talk about their work, or they'll talk about the people they need. What do you do for a living? Tell me more about it. You work in pharmacy? Oh, tell me how does the system work? How does this and this and this? Gathering information. No matter where you put a green personality, they're going to gather knowledge. They are a natural lifelong learner. And in your classroom, it's that green student that will sit on the sidelines, probably turn in some of the best work, throw out the best ideas when you can get them to talk. And you'll think their ideas are up here in connection to the classroom. In high school, sometimes green personalities can be kind of looked on as nerds because they're smart. At least they appear smart. They probably don't have that much more intelligence than the rest of us, but their personality drives them to learning and gaining new information on every level. And as they gain, and you can get it to share, they will give you solutions, innovations, new ideas, good brainstorming. But one of the things about green is they're great on the front end in terms of ideas and generating and coming up with ways to solve problems, but they're not always the best at following through. That's where the gold personality can pull it all to the end. Tie it in a knot and present it to the boss is one of the best plans out there. So these two can work complementary in that area. But greens, as far as rules are important because they're left-brained, about facts. But you know what? Greens dislike rules that have no purpose. So if they're just a rule, and somebody designed it because it seemed to make sense to someone, a green will quickly identify that, and they will not necessarily follow that rule if they don't agree with it. They're independent thinkers, and they really pursue some of their own ideas on their own. But generally, they've analyzed it. They have a systematic way they look at it systematically. They're conceptual, big picture thinkers, and they have it all intact. Even though someone on the outside may not always understand why green is doing what they do, the way they do it and why they do it. Now, thinking back at what I said to you about the gold, that gold means step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Green's not quite like that. They're linear thinkers, but they have enough creativity and innovation, they'll fill in the blanks. So we give them step 1 and we give them step 2 and we say, hey, Mr. Green, on step 3, can you help us solve this blank here? Fill in the blank. This is the person that can do that. And if you as a teacher fail to fill in the blank on some area of information, greens will kind of know what it is. But what they have to know is, why are we doing this silly assignment? Makes no sense. Give me a reason. If you give me a reason, I'll do it. These people are perfectionists. That means when green personalities don't feel like they can do it well enough, good enough, achieve high enough, the green personalities sometimes become discouraged and give up. And while they could be your A+ students sitting right there, they may not achieve if there's not some level of purpose attached to it. One thing green hates is repetitiveness. And another thing, every time I put greens in groups, every time, without exception, they put one thing on their paper that they hate. You know what it is? Stupidity. Greens cannot stand it when people don't think and they act without thinking. They embrace ideas without research. Greens are always about thinking. And when people don't think, they call that stupidity. Or when people can improve their life and they choose to repeat the same mistakes over and over again, they call that stupidity. And greens breed off of intelligence. And they love, love, love knowledge. But they're independent thinkers, very comfortable being alone, and love technology. Almost any profession or career in technology, they'll do it and do it very, very well. And they can solve problems. They're great engineers. They're great medical doctors. They're great lawyers. They can serve on a debate team and just outshine everyone. And they're great at reading and gathering research. And I tell the students at the high school level, high schoolers don't read. I can't get my students to read. If I have that problem, green personalities maybe don't open up the textbook, but they may be online doing research. They may be watching a Discovery Channel that's going to add value to the classroom if you can get them to engage in discussion. And I tell all the groups when I put them in the diverse groups in my classroom is this: get that green engaged. Because once you get them to open up and get past their shyness or they're introverted, and in most cases, about 75% of green personalities are introverted. They're strongly introverted, naturally introverted. And they come in to see me as a career counselor, and they're always in computer information science, software engineering. One software engineer just wrote me a resume. The resume was 8 pages long. The resume, it's only supposed to be 2 pages long. And he could not hurdle writing the resume about himself. It was too hard for him, so he came in to see me. But you know what's hard for these green personalities in the job search? Is their introverted personality hurdling those behavioral interviews. They don't like talking about themselves. They really don't. And yet, they're as capable as anyone on that in most cases, that any employer can interview. They're as capable. But sometimes they can't hurdle that personality interview. But what I want you to see is green personalities being on the left side of the brain. These people have a strong drive to gain new knowledge and make huge contributions to the United States in our knowledge, and can do most anything. Of all the colors, this group has the greatest selection of careers and ideas. In your classroom, you're pretty able to transfer from one information from one thing to another, and these people are capable. Can easily be the jack of all trades and master of nothing because they can do almost anything because of that learning component. But there's not very many of them. There's only 10% in the United States of greens. So if you think you're green, and you think, when I offered that idea the other day in the classroom, in the department meeting, people looked at me kind of strange. Let me tell you what happened. They didn't think your idea was strange. You know, they felt that way to you. But probably, if you're a green, your ideas were up here, and everybody here was going. Everybody was going over there. So I have a strong green, and I have to. Don't like these words, but I have to use them. Sometimes I have to dumb myself down a little bit because I'm up here. Not to say I'm smarter than everyone else. It's because of that always learning thing. And there's certain areas I'm not smart at all. But when I have a passion or interest in something, I just continually gain information and seek it out. That's typical green personality. And sometimes I'll engage in social events, and because I'm naturally right brain, but my green sometimes will exceed in a social environment, and I'll get too engaged in my passion, and it almost scares people. So I have to bring it back down. Anybody ever had that happen? So understanding this about myself, it has helped me to become better in sometimes social engagement, conversations, let the other person lead and let me fill it in, rather than me leading and letting them feel some intimidation. Whenever I would never, my heart is pure, would never want to intimidate. But sometimes people feel intimidated because the Greens are already a step ahead of the whole team because they've done the research. Not only that they've done the research, they've been researching this for years. It's a green personality that will take 2 years to buy furniture for their house because they have to research it. My daughter, she's a U of M grad. She calls me and says, Mom, Bill and I are going to buy a new couch and chair, but we just don't know what we want. What do you mean? So this is month number 1. We don't know if we want green or beige or ivory. We don't know if we want microfiber or if we want leather. And she starts naming all these batteries that I didn't know existed. Okay, here's green, all this information. Now, the next month, oh, Mom, we went to this furniture store and we sit on a whole bunch. Now we're really confused. We don't know which one we really want. We don't know if we want the recliners or we don't know what, okay. All right, now month number 3, now we're back to base 1. We've been online and we're comparing and doing blogging and trying to figure out what people say. So by this time, they're in information overload. They have so much information, they really don't know which one to choose from. Now they're really confused. So I say, Krista, Carmen, make a decision. So green personalities find themselves always searching and seeking for new information. And this is where they land, often with facts and basing their decisions on all the facts they've gathered. And they're very, very good at positive decision making. If they're on your team, in your classroom, maximize the strength of the green. So we have a goal that's 45%, the green that's 10%. So we already know that 55% of the United States is left brain. Surprise. Now moving over to the right brain, we said the left brain's about facts. Thank you.
Sorry, I had to go.
It's okay. I understand. The right brain has the orange personality, and the orange personality has a whole lot to do with our gymnastic people or people who are sports engaged. These are very fun, loving, adventurous personalities. They make you laugh. They're full of emotion. They're like Tigger in the Disney movie. Boo and Tigger and what's the other one? Just hop around, they bounce around. They make people laugh. They make people feel emotion. And the thing about the orange personality is they're about people, remember, because right brains are about people and about feelings. The orange personality also are engaged with people. People are incredibly important to their world. But if they aren't physically engaged teachers, you're going to lose them. So these people have to be out there doing it. Put them in a long meeting. Why do we have to keep talking about it? Let's just go do it. Because orange personalities are doers. And they need to be in hands-on careers and be taking action on things. And they're really good at problem solving or coming up with generating great ideas. But they're not very good, kind of like the greens, in follow through. They're not good in follow through. They're great at public speaking. They're great at perceiving people in a different way than our blue personality, which we'll talk about next. Orange personalities perceive people in a way that is like this. They're great in sales because they're good public speakers, they're persuasive, they're charismatic. They have that great, shining, bright personality that everybody gravitates towards. So as a salesperson, on let's say a car lot, before they engage in a conversation with Mrs. White, who just walked onto the parking lot, and she's looking for a car, and they already know she's coming on, he will observe Mrs. White. Cut it first as she can. Look, she has her hair done. She has her nails all done. What kind of coat she wearing? Now, which kind of car do I want to sell her? So they're already making that association. And then when they begin conversation with Miss White to sell her a car, they're going to address all the things they've already perceived are interest in Mrs. White. And then they'll commence on trying to address her needs and make a quick sale. Because orange personalities have that drive, and they have that love for people, and yet that love for gaining something, because they're extremely competitive. No matter where you put that orange personality, they're compete. And I'm telling you, they play to win. So you put an orange personality on a sports team, and you identify them as an orange, I'm telling you, they're going to win. You play a board game with an orange or a card game or even a video game, they don't win. I say this in high school all the time, everybody starts laughing. If that orange personality doesn't win, they'll throw the cards on the floor. They'll walk out of the room. And everybody will think, well, if that orange personality is mad at them, they're mad at themselves. They were going to win and they didn't win. And when you put them in a competition, they will drive every physical bone in their body to win. Because they are designed that way. And they compete. And they will turn something in the classroom into a competition when it isn't. And they have a tendency, teachers, to manipulate the truth. Oh, I didn't do that because of this. Can often be very full of excuses, but their excuses sound very logical, very sound reasoning. And you know what? While they're doing that, they are just winning your personality. Because of that fun, charismatic side to their personalities. It's so natural. And when they walk, they're popular. These are the popular jokes in society. And they're political. They can play political games, they play political maneuvers, and be very, very successful. And when I say games, I don't mean to say they're unauthentic or that they're dishonest. None of that. They have a way of working with people that makes everyone win and feel happy. But one of the things about orange is one of their weak spots is they don't follow through, or left brains see them as goofing on because they're too playful. So an example, we have a department meeting. We got to plan a project. So everybody is supposed to be there at 8 o'clock, and everybody's there at 8 o'clock, but they're standing out in the outside of the room, all mingling, sharing, talking with their coffee in their hand. So Gold says, hey, everybody, get in here. We got this project. We got to get started. And the greens are already probably found their seat and seated. Oranges will continue to play on the hallway. In fact, oranges may think they need a refill on the coffee cup, so they'll go to the other room and get the refill on the coffee cup. Oh, and then they see there's some cookies over here. And they're going to get the cookies. And you know what? The truth matters, they're probably going to bring in a cookie for everyone. And then, you know what? I don't only need coffee. I also need some water. I better get both. So I'm going to get both. And so then they see Jane over here as they're coming into the classroom, and they stop and chat. So by this time, the meeting's already started, and Orange is meandering. And oranges don't just meander in. They let everybody know they can. Because they love being the center of attention. And they love it when people respond to them. And this is what makes this orange personality so bright. But also, teachers, its personality can disrupt your classroom very easily because of these very beautiful qualities they have. Can easily make a classroom out of control because these people get bored easily. They don't like routine. They can't stand somebody repeating stuff all the time. They can't stand doing things all the time. They can't stand sitting still all the time for very long. And it's the orange personalities, because remember, I teach these students too. It's the orange personalities that will sit there all slopped over in their seat. Is this teacher going to get this over with? You know, they're not saying that, but they're sending all these signals. They're tapping their foot. And if you have a computer in the classroom, they'll be playing on their laptops. They'll be playing on their cell phones. I had to make a rule in my class. Okay, students, if you're a CCSA, if I see your cell phone once while in class, it comes up here for the rest of the class. Guess what? I haven't seen one all semester. And I tell them, you'll get a break for 15 minutes, and you can go check out your cell phone. You're here in class, and I don't like this texting, and I don't like this, you know, these vibrations going off while I'm trying to lecture or we're trying to work on projects. I don't want to see your cell phone. If I do, I get it for the rest of the class. It's worked. But the orange personalities are the ones that will test all the limits, and they do believe that rules are made to be broken, not necessarily to be followed. So they're going to test every limit. They're going to expect you as a teacher to make every exception. And again, they love that center point. And when they go into a party, they're about people too, just like our blue personality. But when they go to the party, the orange personality is the popular Joe that knows all 75 people at the party. Hey, Bill. Hey, Bob. Hey, Mary. Hey, Ann. And goes around and says, and stops and tells a joke every now and then to each one of them. You don't know people like this. Maybe you're one of those. And everyone will know him, but no one will know him to any deep level. That's where orange and blue differ. Because while they're about people, blue personalities these are about perceptions and understanding people and working with people. But deep relationships evolve through the blue personality. Now, stepping back, orange personalities, there are quite a lot of them, teachers, so we're going to have some challenges sometimes in the classroom because of these action-oriented, easily bored, fun-loving, adventurous, challenged, people that like challenges. Orange personalities in the classroom, they can add value, but at the same time, they can create a little bit of too much sometimes. Orange personalities, what I do with them in my classroom, I create competition. It's pretty fun. I make sure there's equal amount of oranges on each side of the room. But I throw out a quiz. We just had chapter 5. Now, this is group A. This side of the classroom, this is group B. Okay, orange. I don't call him orange. Bill, I know he's an orange personality. I'd like you to come up to the board, and I'd like you to score everyone. So keep track of your teams. And you're going to be my cheerleader up here. So which team do you prefer? Because I'll be the other one. So we get the competition going. And it creates so much life, especially when I teach at night and adults are tired when they come to class. That orange thrives off that. I did this the other day, and one of the students in the back of the room said, Mrs. Elsie, I love that. What color do you think that was? An orange. Because they like that competition and that level of winning and getting to win. And of course, their side of the room won. But the orange personalities, while they have that fun-loving, competitive, people-oriented, perceptive side, blues have all of that only at a different level with a little different twist. Blue personalities are the deep relationship builders. And they are the people that can be very melancholy, very sentimental, sensitive, need a pat on the back every now and then. But they're the givers of society. They're the philanthropists. They're the people who give away everything. They give with expecting nothing in return. They love deeper. They hurt on a whole different level when something painful comes into their life. They can't release it. They have emotional attachments. They also have this deep, deep level of understanding of people. So if you have a level and a great love for technology, not technology, for psychology, you're probably a blue personality. Because blue personalities love learning about behaviors, about people issues, and they're great at resolving them. An example would be, we're going to change the office, the format of the office this summer. So we're going to have to move all the partitions, and we're having someone come in and tear everything down. We're going to have to all be temporarily located in this one big room. So we come into a group meeting to talk about this. And there's about 5 or 6 of us on the team. Gold personality says, what's our timeline? How much time do we have to get this done? What's the plan? How are we going to systematically move everyone? Green's worry about how's everybody going to still have their computer and technology and be able to work and not have disconnects with their networking. Oranges, let's go out and have a big party in the park. Because you know what? We're all going to be pulling each other's throat. Let's go have fun. Let's schedule some parties during this transition. Make sense? Well, Blue's knows. Says, I have a concern. Because I've noticed that Mary over here is going through a hard time. She just lost her father. And she's not quite up to speed. We're going to tear everything down in her life. And she's not only lost her father, but she's had some other issues, some health issues herself. And I'm concerned about Mary. Do you think we maybe should try to be a little easier on her in this transition? The difference? People party, organization of facts. This has a deeper level of sensitivity to others. They care, they're sympathetic, and they're the people that everyone calls when they're going through a hard time. But I'm going to tell you something. If you have a blue in your personality, if you have blue color, a strong in your personality, you'll know that when you go through hard times in your life, you don't get over pain as easily as others do. So a parent passed away, or a friend died in a car accident, or in high school, or in college, my fish died. Blues don't face it easily. It's a very deep emotional attachment. They even get sad if some possession of theirs, as in a teddy bear, gets left out in the rain. Because they have this great sensitivity to people. They also have a sensitivity to life itself. These are the people that will go to that same party that Joe went to, and they'll learn that one of the people that was at the party, one of their best friends, Jenny, she's going to have a baby. And she'll go to the card shop, and she'll pick out a card. And then it's the blue personalities, too, if you go in their office. Golds do this, too. The blue on a little different level will have pictures of people in their office. And they'll generally have a photo album in their purse of all their grandkids, or all their children, or all their friends in high school and college. They really have this attachment to people. People are their life. And generally, their career needs to be about people. Not organization and all the analyzation, but more of how can I help people? But more importantly, blues need to know they're making a difference somewhere in society or in someone's life. And they inspire people to become better. So I have students come in that are blue and they're criminal justice. They don't want to be a police officer. They don't want to be enforcing the law. They don't want to be working technology all day long. They want to be working in a juvenile or correction center where they're helping young people or children who are overcoming huge issues in their life. So blues make great social workers, psychologists, but they also work well with the geriatric population and the small children population. Do you think a blue would make a good nurse? Yes or no? What do you think? Actually, not really. Why?
No technology,
Too attached.
no schedules.
And?
It's really too attached.
Yeah.
Too attached.
All of that you said, but also the fact that they will leave as a nurse and they know that Mrs. Jones is in critical care, but tomorrow we have to tell her that in a car accident her husband didn't make it. All night long, Blue's energy will be drained because he or she cannot release that emotional attachment and concern. It can drain and dry. And also even in social work, a blue, while they care at a deep level, they have to manage that. So a nurse, yes, is a great nurse is this combination, but goes first. within the blue. So you have all this caring, but you have this level of order. And nurses move fast, and they have to communicate through technology and with doctors who are difficult communicators. And so the blue side can communicate with the doctor, sometimes build some charisma, but if you can't keep up with this fast-paced, oriented detail, you'll have a hard time. And guess what? One of the weaknesses too here is that golds can often see blues. It's taking too much time. Superfluous time. Insignificant time. Kind of goes back to that thing I said to you before, where my gold boss didn't necessarily value my creativity. Gold personalities don't necessarily value all the time you take with your patients. So it could be infringing on them and messing up with their timelines. So there can be a devaluing going on here. And on top of that, blues can have a hard time because these people run too tight with ship and don't give them time to build relationships. And this is a need that they have. So blue personalities are very oriented towards people, and they have limited, the last number, believe it or not, of careers for blue. I go to high schools, every student, all the girls especially, they all think they're blues. I said, they won't be all blues. When they evolve into adulthood, they're probably going to be more golden than a blue, or green than a blue. But the truth of the matter is, blue personalities are very delightful, loving, deep, caring people. And when you put them in a people profession, there is no one on the left side of the brain that can even score as good as a blue personality when it comes to working at that deep level of people. Because these are naturally gifted to work at that level. And you know what? As career counselor, I am first blue and then I'm green. But I find my green has to hold my blue intact. Because I give and give and give. Sometimes my green has to say, hey Judy, it's time to go home. Or, hey Judy, you spent enough time on that student. Hey Judy, empower them to do more for themselves. Don't try to help them too much. So I have to create this often case to be stronger than my blue and use that. If you're a blue supervisor, what do you think can happen? If you're a blue supervisor, what could be your weakness? Say that?
Chaos.
Chaos could be because of what?
No organization.
Lack of order. What'd you say?
I didn't say it.
Oh. What did you think?
Too lenient.
Yeah. And so if you're too lenient as a supervisor, what's going to happen?
Oranges will be completely out of control.
You got it.
Bulbs will be trying to kill the oranges.
Totally. And these people are just go hide in the corner. They don't want to be their mom.
They don't want to be involved.
So true. So true. So what you're hearing and seeing here is the differences in the personality types. While I've given you a lot of facts about each type, it's each color is incredibly unique. And as you understand this in a general concept of your classroom, it can make you very effective in how you implement your assignments, how you implement your classroom teaching overall. And I believe, and brain research also tells us, that students who are a student-led classroom, each color is incredibly unique. And as you understand this in a general concept of your classroom, it can make you very effective in how you implement your assignments, how you implement your classroom teaching overall. And I believe, and brain research also tells us, that students who are a student-led classroom is a very strong classroom. So while I teach online and I teach face-to-face, in my online classes, I let students lead a lot of the teaching element through the discussion board. And it's very, very good in how it happens. They unfold and give a lot of information that is incredibly valuable to people in the group. And they share things, incidents, scenarios in their workplace or even in their personal lives. And it has like an anonymous feel, and people really open up, and people learn from each other that way. But also in a physical, face-to-face classroom, there's something to be said about empowering your students, all these personality types, to lead and how they can brighten that classroom in such a way that adds value to the learning and the learning styles. So you've already guessed it, because I know all of you have enough gold in you to be this mathematical. So how many are there in the United States in blue? Another 10%. So let me give you a thought here. So years ago, I go to Warren, Michigan, and I take this test, and pardon me, personal example here again, but I wanted to tell you that I'm sitting in this classroom, and I find that I am a green and a blue, and that I'm only 20% of the United States. And I'm saying to myself, that makes sense. Because all my life I felt like I didn't quite understand this group. And I didn't. I love fun, but I was a little bit too serious to be too lighthearted, sometimes like the oranges could be. And I had enough level of conscientiousness and organization that I couldn't be a fly-by-night and spontaneous person. And I began to see how unique I really am. And then I began to show others the same uniqueness that you have. So if you were these combinations and find yourself at more of a 55% of the world is like you, you're still going to see this uniqueness here, this 10% level, merge with a very popular gold. There's still this element of uniqueness that comes into who you are and how you unfold your skills in the workplace. So each color has value, and in True Colors we say the important thing is that understanding your personality colors. And first of all, and biggest fact of all, is that you're all 4 colors. All 4. But what you don't want to do, first of all, is create your career. Second of all, is to create your career in your least color. Now, while I'm organized, obviously, if I wasn't, I wouldn't have been here early and had things set up. So I have a level of organization. I've learned to develop that. But for years, I was carrying a position where I was organizing everybody. School boards and school board functions and board meetings, taking minutes and notes. And I did it with high accuracy, but I had to work hard at that. Now, being a career counselor, working with people, there's a whole new level of interest that comes out of my work. And a new level of energy that I generate in what I do versus what I used to do. And so I think it's in that same scenario of the classroom, as you understand the qualities and the weaknesses, where these people can somewhat micromanage and try to hold everyone to the facts, lack creativity. These people can sometimes hang out independently, not make enough contribution, and really be caught up sometimes in gathering so many facts they get confused and slow at decision making. Whereas the oranges, being the life of the party and great public speakers, they can stand up and speak right off the top of their hat, right off the top, off the cuff, and do a great job and win people over with their charismatic personalities. At the same time, they can not follow through, not be committed, and not listen to all the details that need to be fulfilled based on the other side of the brain. And these people can be so caught up in the creative side and the feeling side that they lose sight that there is a plan to be followed and adhered to. And there's a lot of things necessary, hoops to jump to make the decision happen, and be caught up in the emotional trauma of rejection of a certain part of the plan or whatever. So blues can find themselves making emotional reactions that will get them nowhere, and they need to really base some of their responses more on the factual side. So as you see these 4 colors, everyone's all 4 colors. And your brain has strengths, be it left and right or right. All right is your strength, all left. It's important that you understand that. Now, one of the things that True Colors says, when you do your test, and I hope all of you will, if your scores fall in a line, for instance, 10, 9, 8, 7, just one digit apart of all 4 colors, that means you have a really nice ability to transfer information for both sides of the brain in all colors. If you have a strong score that shows that you're a strong gold and green, let's say you have your top 2 scores are here, that means you're strong left brain, and you probably will find yourself for the rest of your life and previous to now as well, struggling with right brainers. because they seem not to be following the rules. They seem to be not organized enough. They don't seem to take precaution like they should. And maybe you're not honoring you. There's a risk that you take of not honoring the right brainers for their creativity and their spontaneity. And in fact, they can pull things off very, very well without tons of planning. And that people component that they bring. On the other hand, it could be that you score highest here and that you're a strong right brain, and in that case, you really feel micromanaged by the left brainers, and you hate all the rules that they throw at you all the time. So all these things could be issues for you if you're a really strong right brain. But when you have scores that show close numbers in all four areas, that means you have this ability to transfer to all colors very, very well. And is it an advantage? It can be an advantage. Is it a disadvantage that you're a strong right or a strong left brain? Not necessarily, especially if it fits your profession well. But you have to be aware of the other colors to be a little more cognitive of what the differences in those other colors.
Blue ones are on each side, gold, blue.
Yes, which I am the green and the blue. But also my scores are pretty much aligned closely. So this means that you really do have a good connection on both sides of the brain. You're going to have a pretty good ability, if you're green, to understand this real strong, even though you're a green-blue, you're going to still have a pretty, with your blue connection, pretty good ability to understand the oranges and where they're coming from. And with the green, you're going to have a pretty good connection with the gold. So having the top scores, one on each side of the brain, gives you a little more ability to structure those classrooms and some of the management style in the classroom, structuring your instruction, then the management side of the classroom. Both of those things could be very, very important if you have both of these sides of the brain scoring on your top two scores. The other piece of it is, if you're introverted and you're green, you almost got a double whammy as your top score. So you may find yourself working really hard at being out there, that networking side, that interacting with the department team. You may find yourself very independently seeking to fulfill the goals by yourself or without the support of others. And I have a tendency that can be my weakness as well. Sometimes I can find myself saying, it's just too much work to get all these people engaged and take all this time. And as a green, I'm just going to try to get it done and present it and see if everybody likes it. It doesn't work that way. Hillary Clinton just proved that on the healthcare plan a couple years ago. But it takes collaboration, understanding the value of each personality type, what they have to contribute in the brightening process of the brain. So what are your questions? What are your thoughts? Kind of talk about how common you are, or uncommon. And then this slide shows you that green are idea, they generate ideas. Golds are about data, and they process information, numbers and facts. So I would say greens are more about science. Golds are more about math. Oranges are more about public speaking or hands-on type curriculum, as in fitness, gym, sports of any kind. And then blues really lean strong towards psychology, community endeavors, creative writing. Blues are very good at creative writing, and they are the most creative color of the four colors. They have the creative ideas of all colors. And when we go to Kendall, as you all know, Kendall's our fine art college. I say you can hardly be at Kendall without being a strong blue. At least one of your top two scores is probably blue, because the Kendall students are very creative in how they dress. They're artsy, almost on all levels, and they have to be generating ideas just to be in that college. So they have to have a natural skill to that, or why would they be there? So we think of that. I think about the American Idol. And I say in the opening remarks sometimes that my true colors is how many of you watch American Idol, first of all. And if someone doesn't have the natural talent to sing, they can't be a singer. They're going to have to work really, really hard. And to me, as an observer, and watching the show, I can quickly tell who has that extra talent. Can you? It's kind of the same way in our lives. Is if you're a manager and you're watching your people work, you can tell where their strength is. So as a manager in a classroom, bring it right down to the classroom. Where is the strength in that student? How can you utilize that in the classroom? So others are going to learn through how Johnny does his math, or how Johnny has always showing us something new on the computer, or how Mary sees how her classmate falls on the playground and goes and picks her up and says, "Teacher, can we get a Band-Aid?" What color would that be? A blue. And then how the orange on that same playground has 8 of the boys in the classroom competing in a basketball game over here on the side. So he's engaged everyone in basketball. You don't have to worry about those 8 because they're really engaged in the competition. They're going to win. Somebody's going to win. And so all these things come into that classroom, just as they do in the workplace, just as they do in everyone's personal lives, is what are your colors and how can they effectively be used in the classroom? And you should be able to see with this sheet I've given you and just the basis on this. Gives you a general view of the color types and what characteristics they have. But I want you to think about what are your strengths? What are your needs? What are your joys? What really triggers your happiness? And what causes you stress? So, thinking about that, if you're a gold, what do you think would cause a gold person stress?
Disorganization.
Disorganization. What about no plan? No goals? What about somebody submitting a document to you and it's got errors all over it? Drive you crazy? Or you've asked them to complete an application or some form and they've missed half of it, or they chose not to complete it. Now you have to send it back to them. Now you've wasted more time. So then time becomes an issue to a goal. What could be a stressor to a green, do you think?
Lots of things. Lack of thinking.
Yes. Just someone throwing an idea that makes no sense? What about lack of purpose? Even for the young child that's going on a vacation and he's sitting in the back of the car. This is being the green personality if you have children. That speaks up and says, "Mommy, why do we have to go to Grammy's now? Why can't we do it on the weekend?" The mom says, "Johnny, your grandmother and your grandfather are both leaving on Friday to go to Florida. They're going to be gone for 3 months. We're going now on this Tuesday and you need to see them because we want to say goodbye." Now Johnny's coming. There's a purpose. There's a reason. "Mrs. Jones, why do we have to do this assignment? It makes no sense. It doesn't fit with the textbook." "Because it's a practical experience. It'll help you apply what's in the textbook." Okay. Not agreeing has it. There's a purpose.
Like technology,
Yes.
like the technology.
Yes. Well, really frustrating me.
But how can one have a strong goal and glowing green because the red was such an interesting technology?
You'd still have it because it actually, you say a gold or green, and this would be the weakest color, let's say. They're going to be about order, and they're going to be about people. So think about a nurse right here. She's going to take care of her patients. She's going to care for them. But now she's in cardiology because cardiology is high tech. She can utilize that. She's going to probably be a little bit above average on technology. But now if you put this here, what do you think is going to show differently now? There's not only...
Intensive care units where you sedate patients that want to talk to you.
Good point. You really know how to use those tools well, right?
I've also worked extensively in hospitals. There are subtypes of nursing.
But this also, if you have this one in the green here instead of here, what you will see is you have someone that is hatching a natural aptitude for technology, but also they're innovative with it. So they don't just know how to use it, but they're also going to suggest to their manager, we need to use this software. And the manager probably doesn't even know the software exists. They'll say, we need to use this software, or we need to do something by using technology to make the system flow better. They'll troubleshoot it, they'll analyze it, and then they'll make a presentation. But generally, the green here is going to be very good aptitude working in cardiology and comfortable with technology, but not necessarily at innovative at this level.
Otherwise, blue, gold, blue, high, gold, orange, and gray. Blue is high.
They're not very good at technology, and they really don't have any interest in it. They would rather go out and bounce a basketball or possibly play video games. They may be interested because this technology is here. They may have some interest in playing the video games with technology, or what do you call those remote control things? They have a level of technology to them for playtime, but not for career. Not interested. I meet people all the time and say, I do not want to sit at a computer, but 10% of my day. The whole workplace is about technology. So then I have to kind of help them restructure that a little bit in their thinking. But a lot of people tell me they don't want much technology in their world. Maybe a cell phone, and maybe a PDA, or I don't know if we still call them PDAs, but some form of technology for scheduling and tracking things. But they don't really want a lot of that. And I find that in criminal justice. Criminal justice wants this; they don't want that at all. I have to really talk them into more technology. But generally, criminal justice is, unless you're law enforcement, they're blue first, and then they're about the rules. But if I put, what do you think happens if they're going into criminal justice and they have this? Let me tell you. I'm going to tell you this. I'll tell you, this is a little good conversation between us. But what I find when I see this in a criminal justice student, about 7 out of 10, they already have a record. Criminal record. Too playful, willing to break the rules, and most of the time it's this first and then the blue. They've already broken the rules, now they want to repent by giving back to society. But I have to go to them and say, law doesn't work that way, sorry. Sorry! It's going to be hard for you to enforce the law when you've broken it.
How often should you take the True Colors assessment?
True Color says if you take this at the right stage in your life, you're going to probably find that is the accurate score, what you were born with, and what you consistently will maintain. Because it's about your natural design. It's not about something that's going to change. It's the way you were born and the way you were designed. And I do pretty much agree with that. Now, what I have seen is when people go through a crisis in their life, if your score were to look like this, and maybe they lose their job, and they have a couple of years or a year and they're unemployed, and now their budgets are falling apart personally and they're struggling. What I find, these are the top 2 scores. The blue will come to the top. And they'll find a way to kind of create a plan and some level of thinking and intentional choices that'll and they may even have to pull the gold up. But generally, that one will always remain the weakest one, whatever's the weakest. We all will always use it. And self-actualization, as we all are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy. I was getting the 2 words mixed up. Maslow's hierarchy says self-actualization is at the top. And what we say in True Colors is a person that really feels self-actualized and whole is a person that is able to brighten all colors in their life. Not at the same intensity, because truly if you don't like technology, it's going to be hard to spend a lot of time with it, but to understand the need for it and to use it. And self-actualization will occur in your classroom. I see it this way, is you utilize the blue personalities, the orange, the gold, and the green, and create that concept in the classroom and that brightening process among your students. It's pretty cool. Now, Myers-Briggs this is complementary to Myers-Briggs. It doesn't conflict, it doesn't work against, it supports the Myers-Briggs theories and philosophies. But Myers-Briggs takes us to a different level, to a higher level. And you'll see on the handout I gave you, I send this to students. And being in career services, the 2 of you, or you're in the career development side, I send this to students before they ever meet with me, and I have them take these 2 tests online. And again, these are only tools. They're not perfect by any stretch of the means, but they're based on strong brain research and give us great advantages in terms of working with people and students especially here. They take these 2 tests, and I look for consistency. And when you come back next time, I'll give you a chart that shows you how the Myers-Briggs scores align with True Colors. And when they have an ENTJ, ENFJ, I believe it is, I will be able to tell if it's blue, a gold, an orange, or a green. And when students come in, and they often do, and they send me the scores, and there's a disconnect, it's not one of the top 2 colors in the second score in the Myers-Briggs formula, then I say, let's talk. And as I talk, I analyze, and I realize that one of the test scores was they answered one question slightly different, and really while the score doesn't align with the Myers-Briggs, they're really more gold and orange. And it's pretty easy for me to identify that now with years of doing this. And so then I'm able to see that there was a slight discrepancy in how they answered the question, or maybe how the question was worded. Maybe they didn't completely understand it. And they really were more gold than they were more than orange. So their top scores turns out to be consistent. But I measure the Myers-Briggs with the True Color scores and find consistency when I move forward. And I use this as a tool to guide me in terms of understanding that client. Potential student, or prospective student, high school student, a current college student that's in the wrong program, they feel confused. And sometimes, many times it's alumni who've gone through a huge career change, or they're unemployed. And so I use this to create not only direction for that student or prospective student, but also for me as the person that wants to guide them. And if I know their top 2 scores are here and here, they're saying they want to be a nurse and they want to work with oncology, I'm straight with them. Unless they do want to suffer for too long, because you're going to grieve the loss of your patients every day. So maybe you should think a little differently here. And then, unbelievable how the light bulbs come on. And then I say to students, you're in criminal justice and you've been abused. Physically, sexually, emotionally abused, and now you want to go relive that every day in counseling center? Think about it. I've had one girl say, yeah, I'll do it. It's okay. But I want you to go in with your eyes wide open. Maybe it would be better if you chose to manage that site as opposed to being the psychologist or the social worker and listening to the pain of everyone else, because you're going to relive your pain, so you're going to quickly identify with it. So I use this as a tool and in the classroom as I tell our student teachers, and this is a way to really embed some of the concepts of those personality types and create that brightening classroom when people come together and their talents, their aptitudes are strengthened through the process of learning and classroom management.
Judy, when I teach interpersonal communication, we talk about self-concept and the fact that it's pretty much formed by the time you turn 30. Okay, they put an actual number on it. Would that be consistent with what you see on this, minus a huge life change or something like that? Would you agree?
I would say I've never put an age on it, because I think sometimes that has some variables to it in terms of when one person may mature faster. I have 3 daughters, and my 30-year-old is still somewhat like a 17-year-old. But I do think that a 30-year-old would probably be a good gauge, and especially if that person is really now looking at life in a mature way, and they're wanting some direction. I don't think they could just take this test because they want direction, but I do think they're ready to understand themselves. And sometimes it is about, am I ready to receive? And I think when they're ready to receive, they're going to answer these questions a little more holistic. And I think that's really key. So our high school students take the test. And I don't really particularly like this test for high school students, and I've talked to Carolyn Kalo about designing one that would be more appropriate. But what I'm finding is the students really don't take serious the questions. Nor do I think they understand them They haven't reached that mature level. But I would say 28, 30, 32 in that 4-year range would probably be a really good time for a person to say, this is really how I'm designed. These are my natural skills. And you know what I'd say to the adults? What adult is 32, 35 doesn't quite already know themselves? They should. I say, I'm not here to tell you who you are. I'm to confirm who you are, or affirm. And they'll say, that sounds like me. That is totally me. I'm just amazed that I took this test and it can tell me who I am like this. But I tell them, well, it's not just a test. It's behind it. A lot of research behind it, and a lot of information is been built before the testing tools are ever created. So one last slide here, and that is the weaknesses. We've kind of talked about this already, but the goal personalities can be a taskmaster somewhat. They can worry a little more about getting the work done and kind of ignore some of the more important things, the people component. Someone's going through a hard time, or maybe someone's not trained well enough, and you haven't perceived that. The green is often they can create their own worlds and independently operate separately from other people on the team. But again, as I mentioned, they will question the purpose of it. Then oranges they move too fast and sometimes not very focused on subjects or issues, and they may not align the system. They may not align with the system or appear to be following the proper procedures and rules that have been defined. So they may look a little bit rebellious or a renegade. But sometimes with a little nurturing, those oranges, because they're people, they'll respond to that and they'll come back and get on track. And then the blues sometimes can be too sensitive and create emotional responses. And students may take advantage of you being a blue, if you're blue. And try too hard to make sure, a teacher may try too hard to make sure everything gets done and to satisfy everyone's needs. And teachers can burn out easily by being too blue. Anybody can, in any profession. Working too hard to please and seeking sometimes at a deeper level to help people, and sometimes it's a matter of empowering people to cure their own issues. So without keeping you too much longer here, I've lost track of the time. Am I going over?
No, you're.
Okay. Here's the online test, and I think it's about 22 questions. You can use this with your team or with your classrooms. Also, I've given you an assignment sheet. Either of these would work. You could use as a teacher in the classroom to have the students do this. I have some teachers who do this. Then they ask me to come in and do a presentation to the students. With our younger students especially, some of them in our digital animation and game design program are a little bit unsure if this is a good fit for the if they're a good fit for the program, and the personality assessment really does help a lot of times. And then I've given you a handout that shows you an interesting piece is how others may perceive you if you're a gold, and how others may perceive you as a green, but also on the opposite side of that, how you perceive yourself. There can be a discrepancy. Look at the gold. Others can see you as rigid and flexible, but you see yourself as consistent and dependable. The greens, others may perceive you as arrogant, a person that knows it all, when really you're just confident in your information. You've been researching it. Oranges can see themselves as can be seen as irresponsible, and oranges can see themselves as very flexible, easygoing, accommodating others. Blues may be seen by others as very emotional, but the blues can see themselves, I just think deeper and have a deeper concept of people's feelings. So it really is interesting is how the same characteristics are perceived differently from others than they are from ourselves, how we perceive ourselves. And we need to be mindful of that. I think as we work with people, and again, part of human behavior and the psychology of things, we need to be mindful of that. And there's no exception to that as a teacher. But I also think teachers, you need to have some gold, some green, I should say a whole lot of gold sometimes. A playful orange in that classroom, some competitive, exciting assignments and engagement. And then blue, where you really show that student that you care. But you care. wrong with following rules. So I really am sorry that your mom passed away and you couldn't make it to class. My deepest sympathies are with you. I'll see you next week. Next week they don't show. The next week they don't show. Then they come in the third week. You got to keep them going. Too much blue, too understanding. Now the student will take it for granted. So, but on the other hand, all 4 colors make you that teacher that is honoring all 4 personality types, valuing. But at the same time, it also gives that personality type some identity with you, and it makes it brighter and relevant in the classroom. Now, next time in part 2, we're going to talk about some of the stressors. We're going to talk about some of the techniques. And already, if you're thinking here, you're going to know that your technique should probably be significantly different with an orange and gold. But also, we want to talk about some of the behaviors. And in those behaviors, what's good ways to deal with that student, that orange student that's pretty much bouncing off the walls, not paying attention, or the gold that's worried about every little timeline, every little detail. So it's really important, I think it's really important to be able to apply, now that you know the true colors, be able to apply them. And next week we'll talk, in the next 2 weeks from now, the 29th, we will talk in detail about that and how that can really influence your overall teaching skills. Okay? Any questions? Any comments? Anything to add? I love hearing from you too. I've been doing a lot of talking here. Isn't it exciting? Thank you. Very, very exciting. And again, it's a general tool. When I say general, I mentioned to Julie, I don't use it in real deep, drill down deep. I use my bridge for that. But this is a platform. It's built on the Myers platform, and it gives me this great simplistic skill, really, our foundation to really know my students and to show them and honor for who they are and the assets that they bring to the class. Now I have color sheets up here you can have now.
Oh, good.
Now the one thing I would suggest if you're going to take the test, do not look at these until you do take the test because it could influence your scores. And then let me just also tell you that I was going to, what I do is usually at the end of this, I give everybody a big sheet of paper. So everybody has their score. So I say, how many blues? Half the class. How many oranges? The other half the class, no, the other third of the class. Then how many are golds and greens? And believe it or not, 45%, you think there'd be a ton of golds. But in the high school and the early years of college, there's not that many golds yet. They will be. They'll be golden. Because they're going to get out of college and they're going to pass their goof-off years, you know, and they're going to take things seriously now. And that gold is really important. They're going to see it. So I give them, put them in groups, and I put them in different groups. I have the blue group here, the green group, the gold group, and the orange group. And they give them a big sheet of paper. And on the front side, I tell them, I give them a marker. I want you as a group to collaborate, and I want you to put on the first sheet what makes you happy. Then I want you to turn it over. I want you to write what makes you sad. This is hilarious. If we had more than how we do this, then they get up and present them. Usually a couple people from the group comes up and presents. The gold group, Mrs. Elsie, could you give us another marker or give us another sheet of paper because our black is bleeding through. Remember, the golds are about planning and everything is neat. The golds always have a really neat bullet, line. And these paper has the lines on. Most of the time we don't. Everything's perfect, but not real creative. They'll say what they like, and they like organization. They cannot stand on the other side of things that are chaotic or there is no plan or they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They really like to know what the rules are so they don't break them. Those are all things. They can't stand personally to be late for anything, so they're always early. That's what they put. So then the greens come along. And the greens do one, then they come up to present, and I can't even do it because I don't even know how the greens do it, but they have concocted the paper so that when they put it up on the board, it kind of has it's got a sticky back. It flips up differently on the board than anybody else. And they put on here, they like technology, like working with computers. They like watching Discovery Channel. They really like time alone. It always shows up on green. Not too much time with people. And they also put on the back side, when they turn it over in an awkward way, they always put they hate stupidity. It's always on there. I'm just amazed. And always read and say the same thing. So then the blues come up, and the blues, so the oranges, I'll go with the oranges next. The oranges, this is really fun. Well, first of all, the oranges are in the back room and make the most noise. It's amazing. And the greens are, when they're doing theirs, they're all standing. They never usually sit down. They're standing, but nobody touches. Nobody's touching. So they're very much standing. And somebody might be on the floor or sitting in a desk writing, and they're all kind of telling them what to write once they start talking, but they're very quiet. The goals sit there and they fret every time. This is paper. This is creative, and it's hard for them. Mrs. Elsie, can you explain this again? What do you want? What makes you happy? Oh, I don't know what makes me happy. Then they'll start writing it, but they don't have a big list. Goals never have a big list. Greens have a pretty significant list once they start thinking and putting it down. But the oranges are making the most noise, and they're laughing and they're writing all over the paper, all over. I mean everything. Writing. What do you love? Riding in my big truck. Loud music, dancing, sports, Boy Scouts. I mean, they name everything like that. Then you turn it over whether they don't want what do they not like. People with impose too many rules on them. They don't like it when they don't have freedom. They like to be able to do what they want when they want. And then the blues are they're loud in a different kind of way. Now the blues are not sitting on the desk at the desk. No matter where they're all on the floor. And they're all centering. They've got somebody in the middle, and they're writing on a piece of paper, and they're all leaning in, talking, and the jibber-jabber back and forth. What do you call sidebar talk? The blues are talking to each other around the circle. And they're creating flowers, drawing little medicine bottles, what they don't like, taking medicine. What do they like? Smelling flowers, listening to music. Relaxing, having time with their friends and family, pictures, photos, art prize, Grand Rapids, they like that kind of stuff, and they'll put in there. What they don't like is someone dying, losing a pet, or the cookie jar being empty, or they can't get to the store to buy something special for a gift for a friend. It makes them sad. Or roadkill, hitting them on the road. So those are things that we see, and it's consistent, and it's amazing to me that personality types consistently make these same kind of responses. So we would have done that had we had a bigger group, but in the meantime, you were able to kind of absorb a little more information today because of that, and get a comprehension of how the true color, first of all, which side of the brain are you? You probably haven't been able to identify that. And then secondly, which color do you feel are your strongest? Now validate that by taking the test. See what you find. So it's so good to have you, and I hope we get to see you in a couple of weeks. And